Hello everyone! In this tutorial I will show you how to create a simple animation in Clip Studio Paint using keyframes. So in the end you will get animation like this. Usually in 2D animation the artist has to draw manually frame by frame. And for a beginner who has never tried to animate something, it can be difficult. Just imagine manually drawing 24 frames to get 1 second of animation. I'll show you how to make a simple animation where you don't need to draw every frame. Clip Studio Paint will do some of the work for us. To do this, we will make animation using keyframes. Keyframe animation is when we tell Clip Studio Paint how an object should be positioned on one of the frames and how it should be positioned, or in general, how it should be transformed on one of the following frames, and everything in between is created automatically by the program. We can perform different types of transformations, such as changing position, changing size, rotating and changing the center point of rotation, changing transparency, and of course we can combine them all. The transformation in keyframe mode applies to the entire layer, so if we want to animate several objects, then they need to be placed on different layers. Let me show you how you can create animation using keyframes in Clip Studio Paint. First, you need to draw an image and prepare it a little. I have a separate folder for the boy and a separate folder for the girl. You need to place each object that will move on a different layer. You need to draw even those parts of the image that are usually not visible in a static image, for example, behind the hand. There are two ways to go further. The first way is to create a new animation by using the menu File, New, and then choose Animation and copy all your objects to a new file. But I will create an animation right inside my original file. To do this, simply turn on the timeline in the menu Windows, Timeline. Then click on the New Timeline button. I set the frame rate to 24 frames per second and playback time to 24 frames. I'm using Clip Studio Paint Pro, so I'm limited to 24 frames, but that is enough for creating simple GIFs. If you want to have no limits, then you should use Clip Studio Paint X. Let's start animating the girl. The first thing to do is to select our folder and click Enable Keyframes on this layer. Notice that now we can't draw on any layer inside this folder. That is because now we can only use the Object tool. While on the first frame, click the Add Keyframe button. Then select any other frame and use the Object tool to move all the layers in this folder a little higher. New keyframe will be added automatically. I want the girl to be in the same position on the last frame as she is on the first one. Right-click on the first keyframe, choose Copy, right-click on the last frame, choose Paste. If you click through the frames, you will see that Clip Studio Paint added intermediate frames, and now my character moves smoothly. Click play and see for yourself. Now let's animate her wings. I select the layer with the wings. You can do this on the timeline or in the layers palette. Then I go to the first frame and add a keyframe. I will rotate the wings in the next frames, so it's important to set the rotation point in the first frame. I'll just move this little cross to the point around which my wings will rotate. Then go to another frame and rotate the wings a little. Repeat this, go to another frame and rotate the wings. Don't forget that you can copy keyframes one by one or several at once. Select them with the mouse, right mouse button, copy, right mouse button, paste. Play animation to see the result. It's very easy, right? Similarly, I will add animation for other parts of the image. Let her arms move up and down slightly, and let her legs move a little. You can move the keyframes themselves too, just grab them and drag. You can also delete keyframes by right-clicking on one of them, or you can select several at once and select Delete. You can also delete all keyframes on the layer by right-clicking on it and selecting Delete all keyframes. Now let's make the girl blink her eyes. I have two separate layers for open and closed eye. First, I need to choose the layer with closed eye and go to the first frame. If you click the plus button, you will see the opacity property. Keyframe for the opacity is different from the other transformations that we can apply to the layer. We can set opacity value in the Tool Property palette or in the Layer palette. I set the opacity to 0. For the open-eyed layer, I go to the first frame too. The opacity there should be already set to 100, so I should click on the Add Keyframe button. Now let's say we go to the frame 8. I want her to close her eye here. For that, I need to change the opacity for the layer with open eye to 0 and for the layer with closed eye to 100. Now we see that her eye is closed on this frame. After that, we need her to open her eye again a few frames later, so I just create new keyframes on frame 10 for opened and closed eye layers. If we play this animation, the girl will blink her eye, but since the opacity property changes smoothly, it doesn't look good. Let's change the keyframe interpolation type. Select all keyframes on this layer, right-click and choose Switch keyframes to hold interpolation. Now the change of the opacity will be instant. In most cases, the default smooth interpolation looks prettier and more natural, but for this eye animation, hold interpolation is more suitable. Now I will do a similar animation for the boy. To save our animation, click File, Export Animation. We can export it as an image sequence, as a GIF file, or as a video file. I will export it as a GIF. This is the animation I got in the end. You can also add a background on a separate layer to make the GIF look even more interesting. I hope this tutorial will help you create your own animations. Thank you for watching.